Welcome to the Knowing Podcast.
Welcome
to the Knowing God Podcast by Hide and Seek Ministries. Great for kids and grown-ups.
Welcome to episode number 49 of the Knowing God Podcast for kids. My name is Erin, and who are you?
Grayson.
Hi, Grayson.
Hi.
Okay, if our listeners want to follow along in their Bible with us today, we're going to be looking at 2 verses for most of the podcast today. So if you want to turn to the book of James in chapter 1, that's where we'll be looking mostly today. But first, Grayson, I want to read you a story.
Okay.
Okay? There was once a little boy named Lucas. Lucas had just turned 9 years old, and he had a birthday party. And at this party, he opened up all his presents except for one. He was so excited about this last present. He took the box, he ripped open the paper as fast as he could, and then he saw it. The gift was something he had wanted for a long time. It was a brand new Nerf gun. It was orange and blue and just the right size. And he couldn't wait to try it out. After the party was over, Lucas loaded those orange bullets into his Nerf gun. He remembered that his mother had told him not to shoot the gun in the living room. But Lucas was so excited that he didn't want to wait any longer, and he secretly shot one bullet through the living room. At first, he thought it was a good shot. It zoomed right past the TV and towards the doorway. But suddenly, the orange bullet swerved to the right and headed straight for his cat named Pickles. The bullet hit Pickles' tail, and Pickle was so scared that he jumped up off the couch and ran right into the lamp on the table. There was a loud crash as the lamp hit the floor, and Pickles scurried away to hide in the other room. Lucas cringed as he saw the lamp in 3 pieces on the floor. It was broken. Lucas's mom came running into the room, and Lucas quickly hid the Nerf gun behind his back. "Lucas, what happened?" his mom asked as she looked down at the broken lamp. At that moment, a thought entered Lucas's mind. The thought said, "Lucas, you should lie to your mother so you don't get in trouble." Lucas had only a second to decide. Finally, Lucas said, I don't know, Mom. Pickles just jumped up for some reason and knocked that lamp over." Lucas still had the Nerf gun hiding behind his back. "Did you shoot your Nerf gun in here, Lucas?" his mom asked suspiciously. Lucas cleared his throat. "No, I didn't do anything, Mom." Okay, so do you think Lucas did the right thing?
No.
No, why not?
Because he lied.
He lied to his mom, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think he lied?
Because of Satan.
Because he didn't want to get in trouble?
Yeah, and Satan wanted him to, so he probably tempted him.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
That tempted, that's a good word. Did you notice in the story after his mother asked him what happened, it said that a thought entered his mind?
Yeah, that was Satan.
You think so?
Yeah.
That thought is called a temptation. You said that already, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Tempted. Mm-hmm. And temptations are what we're going to talk about today. Lucas had a thought about lying to his mom, and when you have a thought to do something bad, it's called a temptation. Can you think of a story in the Bible where someone was tempted? Can you think of one?
No.
What about Adam and Eve?
Yeah.
What happened with Adam and Eve? How were they tempted?
They ate from the fruit And then God kicked them out of the garden, and they could never come back.
Yeah, so God told him not to eat the fruit, but then what happened? The serpent came to talk to Eve.
Yeah.
And kind of changed the way she was thinking, and a thought entered her head and said, "Ooh, look at that good fruit." And she was tempted to eat, wasn't she?
Was Satan actually a snake when that happened?
Yes, he was. I want to read something that the Bible says in the book of James. Okay? So now we're going to turn to James chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 14 and 15. And I'm reading in the New King James Version. It says, "But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires. Then, when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death." Okay, that might sound hard to understand, but we're going to talk about it and we're going to explain it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, it's like these verses are saying sort of that there are 4 steps to being tempted. Okay? So let's talk about those 4 steps. So here's step number 1. Step number 1 is you are tempted by something that you want. In other words, you have a thought, kind of like Lucas had a thought, but it doesn't just have to be about lying like Lucas lied. It can be about anything that's bad. But you are tempted when you think about something bad that you want. It's your own desire. And that desire kind of draws you away. It pulls you away from what is right. But it has to be something that you want, because if you didn't want it, it wouldn't be a temptation. Lucas was tempted to lie because he wanted to stay out of trouble. Eve was tempted to eat the fruit because it was something that she wanted. Genesis 3:6 says Eve saw that the tree's fruit was good to eat and pleasing to look at. She also saw that it would make a person wise. So she took some fruit and ate it. She wanted the fruit. She thought about a bad thing that she wanted, and she was tempted by that thought.
So, like, you were like my brother and me were sitting down on the couch, and I accidentally knocked over a lamp, and it split in 2, and then you came in the room, and I said Aiden did it, and then he got in trouble instead of me, because then I would not want to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you were tempted to lie because you wanted to stay out of trouble. So that's the first step, is that you have a thought to do something wrong because of something that you want. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's step number 1. Step number 2 is, it says in James, when desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin. So now, all of the sudden in step 2, that desire or that thought that you had is not just a thought anymore. Your thought turns into sin. And it turns into sin when you choose to listen to those bad thoughts. Lucas chose to listen to his thought about not wanting to be in trouble. And so when he listened to his thought, he lied. And at that point, it turned into sin. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so step 1 is you're being tempted by a thought about something you want that's bad. Step 1 is you're tempted. And step 2 is your temptation turns into sin because you listen to the thought, okay? So what's step 3? James says, when sin is full grown, it brings forth death. So step 3 is when your sin keeps growing and growing and growing. And step 4 is when your sin is full grown and it brings forth death. And death means that you're separated from God.
What do you mean by death exactly?
Well, everyone's going to die, right?
Uh-huh.
But some people are going to go to heaven and some people are going to go to hell. So really our spirits live forever. But if we live our whole life in sin, do you think that we really love Jesus and are following him?
No.
No, if we keep letting our sin grow and grow and grow? No, because Jesus says, if you love me, you'll obey my commands. So if we really truly love Jesus, we wouldn't keep letting our sin grow and grow and grow and grow and grow until it's full grown. And at that point, we would be separated from God and not be able to go to heaven. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Because sin causes death. So Lucas had a bad thought and he listened to his thought, and his thought turned into sin. That's step 1 and 2. But then I didn't tell you the rest of the story, did I?
No.
No. Well, this story about Lucas could have 2 different endings. Okay, so here's the first ending of the story. It says, later that day, Lucas felt really bad about lying to his mom. And even though it wasn't easy, Lucas apologized to his mother and told her the truth. Lucas also made an important decision. He decided that from now on, he would also try to tell the truth, no matter if he would get in trouble or not. Okay, so with that ending of the story, do you think Lucas's temptation made it to step 3? Let's list the steps again. Step 1 is you're tempted to do something bad. And step 2 is your temptation turns into sin. And step 3 is you let your sin grow and grow and grow. So in that ending, did Lucas let his sin grow and grow and grow?
No.
No. Why not?
Because he would try never to lie or anything again.
Yeah, so he didn't let it grow any bigger, did he?
But what if it got super tempting that he did?
Yeah, then he would have to make another choice trying not to do it again.
Yeah, and he would have to apologize later.
Yes, and really try hard not to do it again.
Uh-huh.
So he would stop it from growing and growing and growing. So in that ending of the story, Lucas didn't let his sin get to step 3. He did something wrong, but then he decided, I don't want to do that anymore. So let's hear a second ending, a different ending to the story. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Although Lucas decided he would not shoot his Nerf gun in the living room anymore, Lucas's mother never discovered that Lucas had lied to her about the broken lamp. And Lucas was so happy that he didn't get in trouble. Then, about a week later, something else happened. Lucas spilled grape juice on the carpet. He knew if his mom found out, he would get in so much trouble. But then Lucas remembered something. He remembered how Pickles kept him from getting in trouble for breaking that lamp. So Lucas decided to blame the spilled grape juice on Pickles again. As time went on, Lucas found himself lying more and more, and his lies started getting bigger and bigger. So this ending of the story, did Lucas's temptation make it to step 3?
Yes.
Yeah, so he was tempted, and then his temptation turned into sin. That's step 1 and 2. And step 3 is what? You let your sin keep growing. Yes.
But would it make the step 4?
What was step 4? Do you remember?
Death. It separates you from God, and then it would probably be really, really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the second ending, he let his sin just keep growing and growing.
But wouldn't his mom find out because he blamed it always on Pickles?
Yeah, you would think she would find out sometimes. You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. In this ending, it's like Lucas planted a seed. But he planted a bad seed. And by continuing to lie and lie, it's like he was watering this bad seed and helping it grow into a plant. Now, there wasn't a real plant. It's just a way to think about it. If Lucas doesn't stop lying, that bad plant will just keep getting bigger and bigger, and Lucas will keep telling lies and more lies. And at some point, that sin will be big enough and it will be full grown, like in step 4, and it will lead to death, just like James says. And that would not be good, would it?
No.
No. So by looking at James chapter 1, we have talked about 4 steps of temptation, haven't we?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember them? Number 1 is, first you have a thought, right?
Uh-huh.
About a bad thought, about something you want.
And then
you're tempted. And so then number 2, your temptation turns into what?
a lie.
Yeah, well, it could be a lie, but it turns into some kind of sin. It doesn't have to be a lie, it's just something bad.
Like punching someone or
Yeah, it could be all kinds of things, something that God does not like.
kicking someone or throwing like a rock at someone.
Yeah, exactly. So that bad thought, you listen to that thought, and then it turns into something bad, into sin. And then what was step 3?
Step 3 was the sin keeps growing and growing. And then step 4, it finally grows into death, and then it separates you from God. And it would be really, really hard for you to come back to God.
Yeah, very good. Good job. In order for this podcast not to be too long, we're going to wait until the next episode, in episode 50, to talk about a few more things about temptation. We will talk about where the temptation comes from, where those thoughts come from, and what we can do about it so that your temptations do not go to step 2, 3, and 4. We don't want that to happen, do we?
No.
So we'll talk about those things in the next episode. Sound good?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can go to our website, hideandseekministries.com/podcasts, and click on the yellow box towards the top, and you will find a free printable worksheet for a fun way to review what we've talked about today. Also, if you haven't, we hope that you subscribe to this podcast or follow it. And also, we would love to read your reviews of the podcast. That would really help us reach more people around the world with the Word of God. We're so glad you joined us, and we hope you join us again on the next episode of the Knowing God podcast for kids. Goodbye.
Goodbye. I have a joke for you.
Oh, you do? Okay, let's hear it.
Where do skunks sit in church?
Where do skunks sit in church? I don't know where.
In the front pew. Get it? Pew-wee skunks.
Good job, Bear. That was a good one.